When we talk about the divine delay, we have to understand that God's ways are not our ways, and His timing is not our timing. We live in a world that moves fast, that demands instant answers, instant results, instant gratification. We want the microwave miracle, the drive, through breakthrough, the overnight success story. But God is not governed by your schedule or your calendar. He operates outside of time, yet He steps into time to orchestrate His purpose in your life. And so often when it seems like nothing is happening, when it feels like He's forgotten you, that's when He's doing His deepest work. Delay is not denial, it's development, it's divine positioning. It's heaven holding you back until the environment, the people, the conditions, and yes, your heart is ready for what He's about to release. You may have prayed the prayer. You may have fasted and wept and asked and waited. And the longer you wait, the more the enemy whispers lies, lies that tell you maybe God changed His mind, maybe you didn't hear Him right, maybe you're not worthy, but the devil is a liar. Delay doesn't mean forgotten. Delay doesn't mean abandoned. Sometimes God is simply getting the stage ready so when He brings you into the promise, you'll know how to walk in it. It's not just about giving you the blessing, it's about making sure you can handle it. Because a blessing too soon can become a burden, a door opened too early can expose you to things you're not equipped to face. Abraham waited, Joseph waited, David waited, Jesus waited. Every anointed life has had to face the space between the promise and the fulfillment. That waiting room isn't punishment, it's preparation. God is shaping your character in the delay. He's burning off pride, building your endurance, increasing your faith. He's letting you feel the weight so that when He promotes you, you won't fall under pressure. Sometimes the thing you're asking for isn't hard for God to give, but it's heavy for you to carry. And until your shoulders are strong enough, He's not putting it on you. The delay is not a closed door. It's a divine pause for your protection. We often want the stage before we've learned the lesson. We want the spotlight before we've survived the shadows. But it's in the shadows, in the seasons of obscurity, that God does His most intimate work. When no one is watching, when no one is clapping, when no one is calling your name, God is molding you into the man or woman who won't fold when the heat is on. Some of the best work God will do in your life will not be seen on stages or social media. It will be in the quiet places, the lonely places, the dry places. The wilderness is not the end, it's the workshop. It's where your spiritual muscles are built, where your discernment gets sharper, where your motives get tested. Don't despise the delay. Embrace it. Don't rush the process. Respect it. Because when the time comes, and it will come, when God opens that door, no man can shut it. And when God elevates you, no devil in hell can bring you down. But He will not elevate you prematurely. You don't plant a seed today and expect a tree tomorrow. There's a season of rooting before the season of rising. And sometimes God hides you so He can grow you. He conceals what He's cultivating so the enemy can't contaminate it. What looks like delay is actually divine protection. You might think you're being held back, but God is actually holding you in place until the conditions align with His perfect. We'll think of Joseph in the pit and in the prison. If he had gone from the pit to the palace, he wouldn't have had the maturity to handle power. He had to serve, he had to wait. He had to endure betrayal, misunderstanding, and silence. But every moment was preparing him for a position he couldn't even imagine. So when you're in the delay, remember, God is not wasting time. He's investing it. And the same way Joseph couldn't skip the process, neither can you. The favor on your life requires the fire. The purpose in your life requires pressure. You don't get refined in ease. You get refined in endurance. We often confuse the absence of movement with the absence of God. But just because you don't see, it doesn't mean He's not working. Sometimes He's moving behind the curtain. Sometimes he's shifting things on your behalf that you won't even recognize until years later. Sometimes he's answering a prayer you forgot you prayed in a way you never expected. And if you give up too soon, if you walk away in the delay, you miss the manifestation. You miss the harvest, you miss the door, so you've got to be rooted enough, anchored enough to say, though he slay me, yet will I trust him. You've got to stand on the word even when the wind is blowing. You've got to believe that the God who promised is the God who provides. Even if the promise is taking longer than you thought, it's not about how long you wait. It's about how well you wait. Do you wait with faith, or do you wait with frustration? Do you trust him in the silence, or do you complain in the pause? Your attitude in the delay determines your altitude in the promise. This is not wasted time, it's woven time. It's the space where obedience meets preparation, where worship outweighs worry, where you become who you were always meant to be. Because when God finally moves, he doesn't just answer your prayer, he exceeds it. When he finally speaks, he shifts atmospheres. And when he finally delivers, you'll look back and say, it was worth every tear, every test, every trial. The delay is not a no, it's a not yet. It's a divine setup for a supernatural release. It's a heavenly rerouting that protects you from premature exposure. What you thought was a setback is actually a setup. What you thought was rejection is actually redirection. What you thought was silence is actually strategy. And if you can hold on, if you can remain faithful in the in-between, if you can still pray, still praise, still believe when nothing looks like it's working, then you'll be in position when the heavens break open and God moves suddenly, because he's a God of the suddenly. But before the suddenly, there's always a season of stillness. Before the miracle, there's a moment of mystery. And before the promise, there's always a process. Peace is not the absence of problems. It is the presence of trust. Real peace doesn't come when the storm stops. It comes when you trust the one who controls the storm. Too many people are chasing control, chasing outcomes, chasing security that can crumble in an instant. But peace isn't found in having everything figured out. It's found in knowing that even when you don't, God does. The world has taught us that we have to hustle, grind, manipulate, and fight to make things happen. But the kingdom way says, be still and know. Not be busy, not be anxious, not be in control, but be still. And in that stillness, we find out that peace isn't a feeling, it's a position. It's the posture of surrender where you say, God, I trust you even when I don't understand you. Because trust means leaning not on your own understanding, but on the everlasting arms of the one who knows the end from the beginning. We think peace will come when the relationship is restored, when the money flows again, when the door opens, when the diagnosis changes. But peace doesn't start on the outside, it starts within. It's not the removal of trouble, it's the presence of confidence, and that confidence doesn't come from circumstances, it comes from surrender. It's not about how strong you are, but about how much you can let go. Control is heavy, it will weigh you down, but surrender is freedom. That's why Jesus said, come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Rest doesn't come from having less to do, it comes from releasing what was never yours to carry in the first place. Some of the anxiety you're feeling, some of the restlessness you're battling, is coming from trying to be God in your own life. You've prayed about it, but you haven't released it. You've asked God to fix it, but you're still holding it tight in your hands. You're asking him for peace while still trying to write the script yourself. But true peace comes when you drop the pen and let the author write your story. It comes when you stop rehearsing the what-ifs and start resting in the even-ifs. Even if it doesn't turn out like I hoped, even if it takes longer than I planned, even if I don't see the full picture yet, I still trust that he's working all things together for my good. That's where peace is born, and the even ifs. It's born in the furnace, in the wilderness, in the waiting room. It's not cheap peace that fades when pressure comes. It's tested peace. It's anchored peace when you learn to surrender. Your situation may not change immediately, but your spirit does. You can sleep in the storm like Jesus did, not because the storm isn't real, but because the Father is greater. Peace isn't pretending there's no pain. It's knowing the pain doesn't have the final say. Peace is walking through the fire and knowing you're not alone. Peace is looking at the mountain and still saying, I will lift up my eyes to the hills from where my help comes. Peace is choosing praise when it would be easier to panic. Peace is refusing to let the chaos around you dictate the calm within you. And that peace only comes when you stop fighting for control and start fighting for trust. We often think surrender is weakness, but in the kingdom, surrender is strength. Surrender says, I could try to do this on my own, but I know who holds the future. Surrender says, I let go of my plans so I can receive yours. Surrender says, I may not feel like I'm in control, but I know I'm covered. The enemy doesn't fear a person with a plan. He fears a person with peace, because a person with peace won't be easily shaken. A person with peace doesn't need to control every detail. A person with peace doesn't need to prove, perform, or panic. That kind of peace is dangerous. That kind of peace is powerful. Because it comes from the throne, not from the world. Sometimes God will allow your plans to fall apart, so your peace can rise up. He'll let the things you built crumble, so you can finally stand on the rock that doesn't move. He'll let you come to the end of your own strength, so you can find out what His strength really looks like. That's what surrender does. It empties you of self so He can fill you with Himself. And when you're full of Him, peace becomes your portion. Not because life is perfect, but because you know the one who is peace in the midst of change, peace in the middle of transition, peace when the outcome is unclear. That's the peace that passes all understanding. It's not logical. It's not explainable. It's supernatural. It's the kind of peace that keeps you standing when others collapse, that sustains you when others quit, that steadies your mind when anxiety tries to overtake you. And it's available to you not when everything is fixed, but when everything is surrendered. You've got to learn how to lay your Isaac on the altar, to trust God with what matters most, to release what you've been holding onto with clenched fists, and open your hands. The enemy will always try to steal your peace through fear, through doubt, through distraction. He'll whisper lies like, what if it all falls apart? What if you fail? What if they walk away? But faith answers back with, even if they do, my God is still faithful. Even if I fall, He will catch me. Even if it hurts, He is still my healer. That kind of trust silences fear. That kind of trust calms the storm. That kind of trust leads to peace. Peace doesn't mean you don't feel the pressure. It means the pressure doesn't own you. Peace doesn't mean you don't face battles. It means you know who's fighting them with you. Some of you are waiting for everything to calm down before you rest. But God is saying, rest now, trust now, worship now. Don't wait for the perfect moment. Choose peace in the present one. Choose peace when your bank account is low. Choose peace when the doctor's report isn't what you wanted. Choose peace when your plans fall through. Choose peace in the process, not just the promise. Because if you only have peace when things go your way, it's not peace, it's preference. But if you have peace no matter what, then you know you've surrendered your will for His. The peace God gives is not like the world gives. The world's peace is conditional, circumstantial, temporary, but God's peace is constant, rooted in truth, secured by grace. You don't have to earn it. You just have to receive it. But receiving it requires releasing something else. You can't hold peace and control at the same time. You can't hold peace and fear at the same time. You can't hold peace and pride at the same time. You have to choose to trust, Choose to let go. Choose to believe that God is who He says He is, even when life doesn't make sense. Choose to surrender, and in that surrender, you'll find the peace you've been searching for in all the wrong places. God never wastes a moment, especially not the ones when no one sees you. Before He shows you to the world, He shapes you in the shadows. Before the spotlight, there's solitude. Before the platform, there is a process. And before the crown, there is a cross. God prepares you in private before He ever elevates you in public, because what He's building in you is greater than what anyone sees around you. You may feel hidden right now, overlooked, underestimated, passed over, but that hiding is not rejection. It's refinement. That concealment is not punishment. It's preparation. Because God knows what He's placed inside of you, and He's too intentional to let it be exposed prematurely. He protects purpose through process. He shields calling through the cocoon of quietness. There are seasons in life where God will pull you back like an arrow, not because He's leaving you behind, but because He's getting ready to launch you forward. But if the arrow tries to release itself before the tension has done its full work, it won't reach the target. You've got to let the tension shape you, let the pressure form you, let the isolation break your dependency on applause, approval, and attention. This is where real leadership is born, in the places where no one's clapping, no one's posting, and no one's validating. In those places, God is stripping away the noise, sharpening your discernment, refining your motives, and solidifying your identity. He's doing the work that will sustain you when the elevation comes. Because gifting might open the door, but character keeps you in the room. And character is built in the hidden places. When David was anointed, he went back to the field. He didn't go to the palace right away. He went back to the sheep. He went back to the overlooked place. He went back to the ordinary routine, but it was in that hidden field that he learned how to worship when no one was watching. It was in the quiet that he killed the lion and the bear before ever facing Goliath in front of a crowd. The private victories prepared him for the public ones. And that's the principle many overlook. We want to slay giants, but we don't want to tend sheep. We want the throne, but we don't want the training. We want elevation without endurance. But God will always test you in secret before He trusts you in public. The reason God does His deepest work in private is because He's not trying to impress people. He's trying to transform you. He's not interested in momentary fame. He's interested in eternal fruit. So He'll let you walk through seasons of obscurity to develop your dependency. He'll hide you to humble you. He'll strip away distractions to sharpen your vision. He'll cut off voices that don't belong in your destiny. You'll wonder why certain people walked away, why certain doors closed, why certain prayers seemed unanswered. But all along, He was making room for what you don't even see coming. He was clearing the path for what He has ordained to rise in your life. God doesn't rush development. He's a master builder, and builders don't start with the walls or the windows. They start with the foundation. The deeper the foundation, the taller the structure can go. If you want to be elevated in public, you've got to let Him dig deep in private. Let Him uproot pride. Let Him address your insecurities. Let Him heal the wounds you've been hiding. Let Him discipline your desires, because when the lights turn on and people start watching, it's too late to start building. You've got to be built already, and only those who have been faithful in the dark can handle the weight of the light. God prepares you when nobody's calling your name, when nobody's reposting your content. When nobody's inviting you in, that's when He teaches you how to be faithful. Faithful with little, faithful with the unnoticed, faithful with the mundane. That's where leadership is tested. Not when you're on stage, but when you're scrubbing floors. Not when you're preaching, but when you're being pruned. If you can't be faithful in the shadows, you won't survive the spotlight, because visibility without maturity leads to vulnerability, and God is not in the business of exposing unfinished vessels to public platforms. He prepares, he processes, he purifies. There's something sacred about being hidden. It's not a punishment, it's a privilege, because in hiding you get to hear him without the noise, you get to be corrected without embarrassment, you get to be healed without performance. God is developing your roots, not just your reach. He's anchoring your soul before expanding your influence. And you may feel like nothing's happening, but don't confuse silence with stillness. God is always working, always forming, always pruning, and just because people don't see your growth doesn't mean you're not growing. The most important growth is always underground. Even Jesus had a hidden season. He spent 30 years in preparation for 3 years of ministry, 30 years of silence, of learning, of growing in favor with God and man. He wasn't rushing to perform miracles. He was submitted to process. And when the moment came, he was ready because the foundation was already laid. If the Son of God embraced obscurity, why do we despise it? Why do we rush through the very season designed to strengthen us? God uses the private place to cultivate anointing that can't be shaken by public pressure. The oil is developed in the crushing, and the crushing doesn't happen on the stage, it happens in secret. So if you're in a hidden season, don't waste it. Don't despise it. Don't complain your way through it. Learn what you need to learn. Serve where you are. Obey even when it doesn't make sense. Worship even when no one's watching. Pray when you feel nothing. Fast when you see no result. Keep showing up in the secret place, because that's where destiny is being formed. That's where strength is being forged. That's where fire is being refined. And when the time is right, when the process is complete, God will open the door no man can shut. And you'll walk through it not with arrogance, but with authority, not with fear, but with fire, not with desperation, but with destiny in your hands. You'll know it was him who did it. You'll know it was worth it. And you'll be able to handle the weight because you were built in the quiet. You'll be able to lead with integrity because you were forged in obscurity. You'll be able to carry influence with humility because you were grounded in anonymity. That's the difference between those who rise too fast and those who rise with foundation. One crumbles, the other stands. One performs, the other ministers. One seeks applause, the other seeks assignment. And that's the kind of vessel God is raising up in this hour. Not just loud voices, but anchored hearts. Not just influencers, but intercessors. Not just talent, but testimony. So don't be in a hurry. Don't compare your journey to theirs. Don't rush out of your season. Let God finish what he started in the dark so you can stand strong in the light. Let him build the private altar before he gives you the public mantle. Let him forge your identity before he gives you visibility. Because when the time comes, what he prepared in private will shine without striving, and what he poured in secret will overflow in public with power, grace, and unshakable peace.